How's it going, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be going over some Crucible playtest from Season 11. We're going to be talking about best defenses, best offenses. Is it going to be a turtle meta? Is it not going to be a turtle meta? And is there going to be a lot of teams that flop? And maybe a team coming up that's just going to be too damn good with this season. For all those answers and more, stay tuned. If you do like this video, make sure you leave it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. And the first thing I want to talk about is stage number 1. So stage number 1, combat support. I didn't actually get to see how this stage went, but I do have a little bit of data we can go over for today. So I did end up just throwing pure Orcus in there to see how it went. Now Jutsu came in and he just straight up overkilled it with Cabal Kang, so not sure how that's going to play out. And then if we go to when we faced off against Updog, and we see that, then we're going to see that Updog tried to use just straight out of time, and that didn't work either. So I didn't really get a good sample size for how this is going to work. But my whole thought process behind stage 1 is it's going to be like one of two things. You're either going to put a super tanky team in there, let your opponent get the upper edge on the offense, hit you a bunch of times, load you up with vulnerables, and then you're going to drop absolute bombs on them. Or your team's just going to die, because that's just what happens, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's check this out here. So this is up against Updog's team. I believe he threw up Superior 6 with Odin in stage 1. So I wanted to see if I can get it done on a really big budget, because the whole idea here is like, oh, well, if I can just get ahead of them and get a bunch of kills, maybe that'll be enough. Now Updog, he had Mysterio here, I guess, so you couldn't get immunity on spawn. And so the first thing I need to do is need to rewind that Goblin over there, and then I have to kill Odin, because obviously if you don't kill Odin, he's gonna get that battlefield effect up, and then a whole bunch of bad stuff is gonna happen to you. I don't know why I went for Goblin there. Clearly I should have been trying to get just as much bleeds on the Odin as possible. Then I guess the Goblin would have killed me anyway here, right? But as you see, we're just not getting enough damage then. We're not landing our bleeds from the Logan. We do land a couple bleeds here, which is nice. I don't think I had Black Cat as a striker, so no turn meter on or slow there. And Doctor Strange did nothing. I had my Photon on defense. I was just goofing off. Put full A-Force on defense. And then I started to pay for it, right? So obviously we get taken over at that point. So I do have another match against the same team, which was pretty interesting. I did the same sort of thing. So leaning into the ideas. Okay, well, if I could just burst you down before the vulnerables matter, then do they really ever matter? So I came in with 3-piece Tangled Web, Dr. Doom, and Old Man Logan. My thought process here, again, very simple. Can I simply just get ahead and your Odin dies and then I get to win? So I wanted to get my Doom to get pushed, but unfortunately on the playtest, they put our live servers in, so it's not even. So everything I'm doing is a punch down, and their Goblin, he also doesn't have offense up because there's no Slayer here, just doesn't do any damage to Doom. So Doom is not getting pushed whatsoever, but I am getting a bunch of speed through all the attacks from Noir and 2099, and now we're going to see that Weaver's going to go here as well. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to stun that Goblin. Obviously, he's got the speed up and he's got a lot of turn meter, so want to take care of that. And then we do see that because they just had enough buffs, those Mysterio bots giving me lots of energy, we get to go right back at the Odin. And Goblin died. And Goblin just fell over. It is what it is. Old Man Logan's getting his second turn before Odin gets to go. And then it's just over from there. We just win, right? And so this room, the question becomes like, is this enough in a room? Because if Tangled Web, Old Man Logan, can beat Superior 6, yes, Mysterio is here. Vulture would have been a lot better, but then somebody else could just bring in a speed bar team instead, sort of thing, and see if they can get ahead of the situation in that way. The fact that Odin could die here to that tells me that though the room can be scary with the damage from the vulnerables, obviously the whole room rules, I guess we should go over that real quick, is for every vulnerable on an attacking character, they gain 100% increased damage. So this Mysterio, who just died, had 2 stacks of vulnerable. He would have hit for 200% extra damage on top, right? So then we got to think about, like, is there a team that is tanky enough that if you just simply allow the enemy to get the big advantage, will they take advantage of it? Annihilators comes to mind, right? But the whole shtick behind Annihilators is that Gladiator stops the vulnerables from landing. So he's not actually going to get the same sort of benefits from the room. Orcus came to mind, that's why I threw Orcus up, but I didn't really get to test it. And then Astral comes to mind. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday's video on the official Astral kits, but they were absolutely insane with the amount of barrier on spawn, buff strips, that they're doing, so the enemy's not going to be whacking you with too much offense up and stuff like that. Passive health triggers from, I believe it's from Emma and from Moondragon. So it's like clearing a bunch of debuffs, loading you up with deflex and defense up and everything like that. There's safeguard on the team. Like, the team is insane. So I do think that this room was probably created with Astral in mind, especially with the possess trait, right? So say they put vulnerables on Shadow King, and Shadow King has 5 vulnerables, but the enemy is using their ult to do it. All of a sudden, Shadow King's like, oh, by the way, unavoidable, 300% piercing. I have my new stats. Oh, add a whole bunch of 500% damage onto that. Boom, possess damage comes in. And that possess just sort of teeters down to his allies, right? So I do think this room was made for Astral. They're going to be an absolute nightmare here. Jutsu threw this team up, which I thought was interesting. One of the ways to get around, I guess, giving up some sort of speed advantage or just not eating all the damage after the fact is to throw a team that has dodges up there, right? So Nightcrawler in this situation gives dodges to everybody because we let him go first. He does also give dodges to Sasquatch and Guardian. So my Juggernaut here didn't benefit from those vulnerables that he put out there. I am then afterwards, though, going to be able to land a bunch of debuffs. And I'll try and pause it when Juggernaut does hit with all this buffs. But the also reason I wanted to show this attack is because, quite simply, Undying has global rules here, right? I don't know if it's like some damage or something silly like that. Without having at least a portion of their work kit, like without having at least the speed up on spawn for like Juggernaut, at least somebody in their kits, it doesn't feel like it. And Emma's not going to be stopping speed bar like Captain Britain does, because I believe that's War Only 2. I'm fairly certain. You see he has no vulnerables here, so this is only going to hit for regular damage. Only 1 charge as well. This is like a max Juggernaut, by the way. So yeah, I don't think the Undying team is going to do anything this season, guys. I'm not sure, like, if you see a really bad team like this, I guess you could try it, but you see, like, Dormammu is the only reason this works, because Hela does die there. Okay, I just missed the damage from that. So we can try and see Juggernaut's damage. He's got 2 vulnerables, 4 charges. Let's see how hard he hits. He's also hitting a defense down. I believe that was 3 million. Was that 3 million? Let's count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so 3.2 million. That's a really big hit. That isn't a defense down. 2 vulnerables, 4 charges. So I guess on his initial attack, if he didn't like instantly get dodged, then it could have been a good amount of damage. But hard to say. So yeah, I think stage 1's kind of just a bust. It kind of just seems like a nothing burger to me. I'm just gonna keep Orcus in there. That's what I have on the live server, Orcus. I'll show you my live stuff after this. I'm just gonna keep Orcus in there and see what happens. If it pulls Cabal Kang, then that's kind of a win in and of itself, because we'll see the other rooms are going to be a lot more impactful, right? All right, let's move on over, talk about stage 2. I have no footage to show you for stage 2. In the Updog matchup, it was just Hand Team, and in the Jutsu match, I forget what he put up there. It was... Oh, it was the Annihilator team, and I just hit it with Cabal. I just was trying to get the attacks done. I want to see if it did anything interesting. Without something like Skrull on there, no early defense down for the enemies to work into, because that's the whole shtick to the room, right? The whole shtick to the room is that villains are going to put defense down. Hero characters are going to go ahead and put offense down. We've seen this room. It wasn't impactful then. I doubt it'll be impactful now. Annihilators with Skrull is somewhat interesting, right? Because Skrull will get that speed bar, can't be stopped by Cabal. He'll get early defense down on the person that he hits, right? Is it the people that he hits? I think it's on everybody on successful attack, play defense down to each target tag. Yeah, so Skrull could get the defense down on at least 2 up to 3 targets, and then maybe they activate the Thanos passive on accident while they have defense down, and that could get really ugly. I can see something like that happening, but not an overall interesting room. And then there's stage 3. Now, stage 3 is kind of what everyone's a little bit afraid of, because we've had this rule before, right? And you can see I got Spider Sighting with Mephisto in there. I didn't get to see how that played out. I'll show you what my opponents were up against. So up against Jutsu, I went ahead and I put... Oh, no, that's what he did. We'll show you footage of that in a second. I put Night Stalkers with Mephisto up there, and he beat it with the Mystic Soup, right? So Loki plus Deathpool, that's a lot of speed bar going into Sylvie, and he brought Odin in there, so there's just a lot of assists happening there. Oh, Mephisto probably got his thing off, and then that was probably the only... we could watch it. That was probably the only attack that my team got, I assume, just based on the sheer amount of assists Odin's going to get. The Terminator... Well, I guess the Terminator Rewind doesn't happen unless you make Odin get rid of the battlefield effect first, so... I think you could probably afford that, though. It's because Sylvie's getting how much speed bar from Deathpool and Loki? That's a lot. Probably. Let's speed this up. Let's see how this goes. So Sylvie's going to start this off. And who's she going to control here? Oh, there's the go. So the stun on Agatha, it's going to stop barrier. It's going to stop further offense down. It's going to stop all kinds of stuff. Going to get a spread there from the death pool. I see Odin is just pinging her down like crazy. Mind control on the Agatha, so she's getting wrecked from even that. So just not a good day to be Agatha, though her show is pretty awesome. Vol's done nothing. Odin now takes that battlefield effect off, so turn meter rewind is back on the table. They do have the safeguard still, though. Oh, wow, look at that blade damage. So blade nearly wrecks the death pool. Oath comes in with a big hit. But then there's Odin, and at this point, I think Odin would probably self-carry this. Agatha gets wrecked, Mephisto is controlled. Unless Sylvie dies, then she does this nasty turn meter rewind, with Odin having like 500% effective speed bar. This is just essentially over, right? All right, so that's what Jutsi did. That was a nice clean hit. So it looks like Bifrost is going to be in play there, though I don't think Bifrost is going to work the same on defense. When I show you my footage, you'll see why I assume that. And what did Updog do to me? Updog, he tried a very, very low-powered Night Stalker Pav into it, and it didn't work out for him. So let's go ahead and check out the attacks that I did in Stage 3. So Updog initially just put up Alpha Flight Old Man Logan. Somewhat interesting, right? So the whole thing about this season that's super interesting to me is that North Star is basically going to shut down teams that rely on speed bar on spawn. So like the team we just saw Jutsi use, I think North Star is going to put a big halt to that, because he's going to say no to Deathpool. He'll say no to Sylvie. And I guess he's going to stop charges as well, right? You're going to see when I show you some footage of what I did. So I brought Spider Society in here thinking, okay, well, I don't rely on speed bar here except for Noir, just speed up on spawn. So this was super fun, right? And you need Ghost Spider, by the way, to speed up on spawn. Pav starts with his ultimate because of the Penny passive, and he immediately kills the Old Man Logan. And I don't think there's a way to protect Old Man Logan from that. Maybe if you moved him all the way over. But then all the other characters, they're still going to get all their turns. Eventually, it's just going to pop off. It's going to be a lot like in War, where the Spider Society team just kind of maintains their safeguard forever. Like Old Man Logan, he'll do some good damage, but eventually it'll just be him versus 5, because he doesn't have like the other Mercs for Money people to protect him. With that said, could we see a 3-piece Mercs for Money come in here with like a North Star? I'm sure we could see lots of different North Star variants. But I don't think it's a very interesting conversation. So this worked, just straight Spider Society, not trying to stop the Old Man Logan by bringing in my own North Star or anything like that. I let it just kind of play out. And then I canceled out. I wanted to see some other stuff. I did a lot of testing here. We weren't taking this very seriously. Brought in Hive Mind with Apocalypse. Okay, we'll stop the safeguard from the Alpha Flight. Again, the Hive Mind is going to start with speed up on spawn. So can I do enough damage that I end up just getting ahead of the Logan? And what I really liked here is if an opponent puts North Star on defense, Void Knight has a lower speed stat than Gwen. So Void Knight is now ulting with offense up. So everything that he turns into bleeds here is now based on his damage while he has offense up. So look at all the damage I'm taking. Old Man Logan does get a turn. He's going to get some interesting damage off, right? Like if he had stunned Red Goblin, maybe this goes a little bit differently. But then the damage from the Void Knight flips, they start doing their thing, right? And because it wasn't Red Goblin got targeted, he's going to clear all this. And I don't even think Apocalypse gets turn. I literally could have brought Ares in here. I guess the benefit of Apocalypse is extra damage plus extra life. But yeah, I literally could have brought Ares in here, I assume, because if it was Carnage getting stunned. And I would have been perfectly fine. So we end up just smacking him at the park. And then finally, Jutsi put up Orcus with Ares. And I think this is the most interesting thing, right? This side just bring North Star. North Star not only stops the speed bar from side to screen, but he also stops the charges from Black Knight. And so this is just free. This is absolutely free. So my Void Knight doesn't have to worry about the charges. He's going to flip all this stuff. He puts ability block on everybody. So even if there was a Omega Sentinel, she's going to get her stuff flipped, and then she's going to get the ability block, which is super painful. Because I think Void Knight stops people from getting immunity anyway. So the immunity that she puts on the team is not even in play. But you see here, just an absolute slaughter. And that's going to be it for stage 3. So that's it for the footage. We didn't actually get to do a third match. We only got to do 2, and then it glitched out. What I would say about stage 3 is that I think Spider Society is still king. The Orcus team is too easily shut down by North Star. That's why North Star isn't on spawn in the more interesting nodes of the Orcus raid. Like, he's on spawn for node number 1, but node number 1's not very interesting. Node number 1's kind of like whatever. Node number 2 is the same sort of thing. Actually, he is on spot for node 2, isn't he? It's the same thing. Like, think about the enemies that are on node 2. It's like a bunch of old, outdated X-Men characters. And then node 3, where there is an Apocalypse, there is, I think, some Spider members, there's some Secret Defender members, which is marginally interesting, right? It's like North Star drops in after the fact. So after Orcus has already got running, and that's why that team works there. The Orcus team, I found during this testing, it really kind of showed their weaknesses, and they have a lot of weaknesses in the raid. They might be the weakest raid team because Sylvie can get ahead of them and rewind, and then it's all hell breaks loose, right, with Deathpool. North Star shuts them down with Hive Mind super instantly. Probably shuts them down with Spider Society super instantly. And then the Night Stalkers. Night Stalkers are the other new team that I'm not sure because I don't have Man-Thing. I didn't have Man-Thing on the playtest. I don't have Man-Thing on the live server right now. So I'm not sure how his 20% speed stat is going to change things. But unless you put like North Star on defense, as we saw Updog do, I think what ends up happening is you just get outsped, you get destroyed, you don't get a chance because the speed bar changes and the speed up that the the Spider Society and the Hive might have, it's just too big a bridge to gap for 20% speed stat. The question then becomes like, how will Diamond stats play into this? If you have somebody you're up against, they have, say, full Night Stalkers with Mephisto, like I tried to put up there, and it's Diamonds instead. Like, will Jutsis, Bifrost, Odin team work? Maybe. There was so much good control there. At the end of the day, that's just all Odin damage. Val didn't do nothing, right? So I'm not sure that the new teams are actually going to pose a threat in that room, and I consider all 3 teams, right? Alpha Flight, definitely not. Orcus, definitely not. Night Stalkers, I guess remains to be seen on the Man-Thing, but I don't think so. I think it's still Spider Societies are king. And then that raises the question, so what do we do? Do we do Spider Society on defense? Do we keep them for offense to easily dispatch the other teams? I think the turtle move is going to be to put Spider Society on defense with Mephisto over Noir, because Noir, he can obviously get his speed bar messed with, and even then, you're going to want Ghost Spider instead of Noir 100% of the time because she gives the speed up on spawn, which I guess could be countered by a rival Pav. It's an interesting conversation, but I do think Spider Society is still going to be king of both defense and offense in that regard. So the task at hand will be to find a new Spider Society counter that can factor in a character like Mephisto, a character like Odin. Those are the hard ones to figure out. If Old Man Logan's thrown in there, or if we have Black Knight thrown in there, the obvious answer is to throw North Star at it. And then the other 4 characters still need to be able to carry the torch. So that's it for Stage 3. Stage 4. Stage 4 is a big nothing burger. It's the flashbang room. I'm not sure why they wanted to run this one back, except that maybe they just want a couple rooms that are nothing burgers. This is just blinds, right? So when you ult, it's going to put a blind on the primary target. This is the kind of room. So what I think is stages 2 and 4 are the kind of rooms where this is going to be the old guard defenses you put in that do require something interesting to take out. Like, they can't be beaten by new warriors. They're not going to be beaten by like secret defenders or tangled web in that regard. But the room itself is not really elevating the team. So we're going to be interested to see what happens there. Once the Astral team is in play and we throw them into stage 1, then Orcus is going to take up, residency in either 2 or 4, depending on if you're, turtle method or not. I'll show you my defense later. It's going to depend like where they want to go for that regard. Because I do think the blind from the Orcus team could be pretty interesting, right? Like Scientist Supreme will throw out an early blind there. Nimrod will throw out an early blind. Lady Deathstrike, I think they all open with their ults when it's the full team. So that could be slightly interesting there, and just new team, big stats. You got to be worried because they do stop like the Cabal with the Scientist Supreme doing the early cleanse if she's a healer, purple 3, and the speed bar stuff. So there is an intrigue there once we get one more team. But that's the super defense awful meta that we might be walking into. All right, stage 5. We all kind of assumed that this was going to be a big nothing burger, and it really was. So the Unholy Alliance, this is where the Extreme team meshed with Masters of Evil, right? So Masters of Evil get the Extreme tag. or sorry, the unlimited tag, and the unlimited people get the Master Reveal tag. I think this feels like it's more for an offensive room, honestly. Like if I could get Rogue and Gambit to have speed up on spawn, that's really cool. That makes them much more dangerous. Even Sunspot, getting him to have speed up on spawn, that's really fun. The problem is because it's only in this room, who cares? So what ended up happening here is we had, I think I have footage of Jutsy's, I think. Yeah, okay, so Jutsy tried to make it as interesting as possible. He threw in Absorbing Man and Titania here along with Gambit, Rogue, and Forge. So no Nightcrawler here, which does take away from the intrigue a little bit. But I don't think it's going to matter because what I ended up doing is I hit it with Tangled Web, Ares. I think I threw in Kestrel and Quicksilver. So if Nightcrawler was here, you have to sub out either Kestrel or Quicksilver. Get a stun either on the Nightcrawler or on the Rogue maybe, and you go from there. I think probably Kestrel would still be the way to go, but just taking the Safeguard off is just a huge benefit. Also, if you could just throw Apocalypse at this one, then you just do the Tangled Web with Cable, Red Hulk, and then Apocalypse, and you're just laughing. Like, it's just over at that point. So I don't think this is going to be a big room that's going to determine things. I think Jutsy probably purposely left off Nightcrawler to try and make it, try and shade off what he thinks might catch people off guard. For what he did to me, yeah, against mine, he ended up using Skrull, Ares, Eternals, and Morgan. So that's not really interesting either, obviously, right? Because Skrull is just kind of overpowering that in a silly way. So yeah, I don't think Stage 5 is anything to write home about too much. It will change things a little bit with Nightcrawler in there. But yeah, it's going to depend on scaling. How high you have your unlimited characters, and how bad RNG your opponents can get, and if you are taxing their Apocalypse enough, sort of stuff. All right, and then finally Stage 6, the What's Up Dog room. This room is probably going to make a lot of people really mad, not in a fun way. This room is ridiculous because it reduces all healing, but it also gives everybody the Infinity Watch approach, right? So spawn with Safeguard and immunity and defense up, so everybody's an Infinity Watch member. Which could have been interesting, I guess, except Scopely has recently released a lot of teams that just make it counter fun. So let me show you what my experience was like in this room. So we had Annihilators with Mephisto up here. So I hit it with something silly at first. What did I hit it with? I know Odin. I definitely used Odin here. I hit it with Spider Society Odin. So I knew I'd get a lot of speed here. I'd get to go first. We quickly get that battlefield effect off. And I guess Gore would then strip it back, but it doesn't really matter. But what we found here, and I wanted to test a lot of things. I want to test, like, does Drain work here? Does Lifesteal work here? Does Rebalance work here? We're going to have a little funny moment later on. And Scopely, to their credit, like, they dotted their I's and they crossed their T's here. No sort of healing is going to help you here. So whereas Odin, normally, like, he gets his ass kicked before he starts to go, right? But then all of a sudden, when he gets his charges, he gets his battlefield effect up, he heals right back up, so that shuts it down. It shuts it all the way down when we are in this room. And so what I noticed here, what's going to be an absolute nightmare, is a character like Thanos Endgame is so protected in this room with his Infinity Watch buffs. Like, you really got to bring in somebody like Apocalypse or Ares to get that Safeguard off, which does work, by the way. I also tested that. That does work because you really don't want to be pushing this Thanos Endgame when he has his offense up, because it's absolutely insane. And that's exactly what we're going to see here in a second. And this is what I think is a little worrisome, because it does kind of feel like whoever has the biggest, newest characters can throw this soon is going to be crazy. Look at this ult damage from the Thanos, and then he immediately gets pushed, and then watch. Because he's got that offense up, it's an absolute ridiculous amount of damage. Up until that point, like, if this was any other match, it probably would have been okay, right? Anyway, so I hit it with another team, and then I think I overkilled it. I brought in, like, Cabal Kang. So same sort of thing, except what I wanted to do is I wanted to push them that much faster to deal with everything. And with the extra damage that Cabal brings, it absolutely works. So Spider Society, a little bit weak in the tooth. The other team, not so much. So we did push the Thanos here. He takes all the buffs off. You see he still has that offense up, so we do get absolutely wrecked. Surfer ulting with offense up, that hurts too, so it gets super close. So even when you try and bring in, like, a really big overkill here, Not great. Also, I think in the first match, I opened up with Odin basic. I was like, oh, I can heal later. Just not thinking clearly. You always want to use Odin special if you're in this room. This is going to be the turtle room, by the way. This is really going to determine how things are going to be going as far as your roster balance. And then we went up against Jutsi, and Jutsi threw up Mephisto with Illuminati. And I think that there's two versions of this team, right? There's the Mephisto version and there's the Odin version. And both are going to suck. And you might see both Mephisto and Odin on defense because of how these room rolls are playing out. Because if you tax both, then it becomes an absolute nightmare. If your opponent has them on offense, that is. So what I wanted to see in this initial test was, does my Vulture strip off their speed up before the room rolls take into effect? And the answer is no. Because I do believe that's how it works in War. Like right now, Spider-Verse characters, they gain the safeguard in War, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Vulture still peels the speed up off them, even though they're getting that. Did not happen here. So I tried to change it around a little bit. I went ahead and brought in Mysterio. I wanted to see, does Mysterio stop them from getting immunity? Same sort of thing as Vulture, right? So does Vulture stop the speed up? Does Mysterio stop the immunity? Once again, the answer is yes for Mysterio. So they literally just cannot gain it. So the room rule is not overdoing that, right? Because there's a difference between Vulture clearing the speed up and Mysterio not allowing immunity. But I still get absolutely rickety wrecked here. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a 2-burn, then plus a big team. I go on ahead and I finish it off, and I bring in Odin with Vulture and Apocalypse and 2 other members, and this is going to stop them getting speed up on spawn. The whole idea here is like, okay, like, can I get my Odin to actually get some turns in and see what happens here? And this one I thought was super interesting. It's definitely a good way to end off this video. So that first hit on Vulture is interesting because the whole concern here would be like, what if Odin dies right away? The Black Cat attack is always going to go for the goblins. You can kind of move that around as you see fit. Again, you always want to use the special from Odin here. So go ahead and get that one done. Also, I would probably put Goblin the Quarter next to Odin. This will not rewind anybody. It will not even strip any buffs, right? Because although we're going before Hank, the room puts the safeguard up, which why we're at Apocalypse, but then after that, Mephisto reapplies the safeguard, making this an absolute nightmare matchup. But they can't be healed either in this room. That's important to note. So you could try and kill this room by many attacks, right? You see Odin with his now having offense up, absolutely obliterating the enemy team. So lots of damage is happening. Because I also get the Infinity Watch effect, the Illuminati is not hitting near the target. This I thought was hilarious. Hold on, okay. So I paused it for a while. Like I was thinking, I was like, I gotta know. So if I ult, I'm gonna be fine. I'd win this matchup. It'd be no problem, right? I'm looking at my life. I'm like, I gotta know. If I special here, it's a redistribution, right? Is it gonna heal me or is it gonna bring me to Vulture's life, right? So if it redistributes and it keeps trying to bring up the lowest life member, then that lowest life member should just stay there and you would drop down to them. I was like, this is really interesting interaction. What should I do? Well, I did the special. I needed to for science it. So yeah, you see, I'm looking it over. I'm like, okay, supplies 2 vulnerables, offense down, defense down, redistribute total squad health. Okay, it's gonna redistribute total squad health. It's not a heal, something like that. It's just redistribute total squad health. So I do the special. I did more damage to myself than anything the Illuminati characters did. It brought all my characters to 1 life. I have no idea if that's just like redistribute is broken and it's going to bring everybody to 1 health all the time. I don't know, but it was hilarious. And then I lost and I couldn't clear. So when you see like a really big team here, I'm not sure if you're going to want to do 2 burn attacks and then hit it with something safe and then also just load up your defense. And because I don't really know how things are going to, because this room is absolutely insane. And honestly, I do think the raid stuff is going to change. I'm turtling up. I'm turtling up, and I'm just going to let other people deal with the worst of the worst. I'm going to see how they handle it. If they handle it good, I'm going to copy them. If they don't, then I'm just going to keep turtling. Because last season, it got to become a turtle fest real quick. The new characters with their new stats, with what some of these rooms are doing, are absolutely absurd. So leading to that, I don't think is a bad idea. So stage 1, I'm leaving my Orcus team up there. Stage 2, I'm going to keep Annihilator Scroll there. That's going to be easily defeated by Old Man Logan teams and even like a Captain Britain Apocalypse team with Tangled Web, right? It's super easy, but it'll tax them, and that's all I really need from that. I'm gonna keep Night Stalkers with Mephisto there. I might actually, I might throw spiders back in there and pull Hive Mind off. I don't know about that. I think we'll keep it. I will keep Night Stalkers there. I haven't locked Man Thing yet, but I do have like 108 orbs I might go ahead and use for that. After that, Black Knight, Hive Mind with Noir. I think this is a very easy one, but again, it's just to try and tax them. This could probably be New Warriors this season, which is a concern. So maybe I should, maybe Night Stalkers go in 4, Spider Society goes in 3 with Mephisto, and we use Hive Mind in the raid room with various people, whether it be an Old Man Logan, a North Star. So this is the whole thing about the season. There's going to be lots of moving parts. I don't think you want to get turtled on, though, and have to take losses where your opponent gets easy victories. And I know that Orcus and Night Stalkers for offense, as far as stage 3 goes, not really interesting. Stage 5, I am going to keep my Nightcrawler in there. I'm not going to put Titania. We're going to keep the rest of the unlimited people there. I guess the extreme people there. And then I'm going to do Odin with the Illuminati team. I think Mephisto is a little bit more interesting in 3. I do think that an Odin team, even against Mephisto Spider Society, could probably get it done, though it'll be very, very ugly. But then I'm not sure what you would do against 6, because that Odin is going to become an absolute nightmare. You're going to have to end up probably doing, what, 2 burn attacks, and then something big. It's going to be super curious. So I'm very interested to know what you guys think after seeing the footage here and after hearing kind of my reasoning and my experience. Do you agree with me that it's maybe best to turtle up to start this season? I actually hate turtling when seasons start, but it just kind of feels different this season. And are you excited to be tackling on the raid room again, as well as the What's Up Dog room? And what do you think about Astral in stage 1? They're just so tanky. I could just see this room being built for them. They're super tanky. Get hit a bunch. Get a bunch of vulnerables. Possession one-shotting people. That's how I kind of see it playing out. Maybe I should save this for another video. Nah, okay. What about Annihilators on offense? What about the Annihilators on offense to help you deal with stage 6? Because the Illuminati is going to go first. They're super fast. We saw what endgame Thanos kind of does to Odin. Could be the play. Could be the play. All right, guys. Hope this video finds you well. Hope you has a bunch of fun to start off Season 11 of Cosmic Crucible. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have fun. If you like the video, subscribe, like the channel, and share it with friends. All that kind of stuff. Bye for now. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.